discourse et après 10 minutes pour questions. Would you please speak?
Well, good morning, everyone.
Bonjour à tous, bienvenue au Théâtre National de la Presse. Chris Rance. Hi everyone, I'm Chris Rance. I'm your moderator today in the National Press Theatre. We have 5 folks with us today for their news conference. Beside me is Anne McClellan. She's the former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and former Public Safety Minister. Going backward, among other things. She'll be the chair of the National Press Theatre. We have Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould, Health Minister Jane Philpott, Michelle Picard, you are the Parliamentary Secretary for Public Safety, and Bill Blair, PS for Justice. And we have about 15 de 17 minutes pour discourse et après 10 minutes pour questions. Would you please speak?
Well, good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm pleased to be here with my colleagues to announce the first public and important step in the process that will lead to the introduction of legislation in the spring of 2017 to legalize, strictly regulate, and restrict access to marijuana. Our intent is to come up with legislation that will regulate non-medical access to marijuana, keeping it out of the hands of children and youth, and the profits out of the hands of criminals. I've been working with my minister colleagues, Philpott and Goodell, as well as my Parliamentary Secretary, Bill Blair, and with provincial and territorial governments to establish a task force on this subject, which we are launching today. The task force will be chaired by the Honourable Anne McClellan, who I'm pleased is here today, and the members of the task force, many of whom were recommended by provincial and territorial governments, are as follows. The Vice Chair is Mark Ware, Catherine Zahn, Harry Kendall, Marlene Desso, Ralph Suker, Susan Boyd, Barbara von Tigerstrom, and George Chow. This incredible group of experts bring a wealth of expertise and background to the task force, and we look forward to their advice on this subject. And under Ms. McClellan's leadership, the task force will engage with provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, Indigenous peoples, youth, and experts in a wide range of fields to seek their views. The task force will use what it has heard to advise the government on the design of the legislation and the regulatory framework that will include a new system of strict marijuana sales and distribution. Mr. Blair and Ms. McClellan will explain more about the task force shortly. As I said, this is a first step in the process that will result in new legislation. Our legislation will be informed by the views of Canadians, our provincial and territorial partners, experts in public health, and law enforcement. It will rebalance legal treatment of marijuana to keep pace with the changes in our society while protecting public health and safety. It is important for Canadians to remember, however, that while this process unfolds, the current criminal laws on marijuana remain in force. Production and possession of marijuana are illegal unless it has been authorized for medical purposes. The Government of Canada supports efforts by federal, provincial, and municipal law enforcement to enforce these laws. I look forward to hearing the results of these consultations and thank the Chair and the members for agreeing to participate in this extremely important part of this process. Thank you, and I will turn it over to Minister Philpott.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with my colleagues to launch the task force on marijuana legalization and regulation. Il ne s'agit pas d'une question facile. La marijuana est une drogue que de nombreuses personnes utilisent actuellement à des fins médicales, mais elle est également utilisée à des fins récréatives par de nombreux Canadiennes et Canadiens. En fait, l'utilisation de la marijuana au Canada est la plus élevée que pratiquement n'importe où dans le monde. Et comme il s'agit d'un marché illicite, le crime organisé s'enrichit. We also recognize that marijuana is not without health and safety risks, especially among children and youth. Marijuana use has negative effects on young brains, and brain development during adolescence lays the foundation for success in life, or alternatively, for the struggles that may lie ahead. In fact, adolescents in Canada use marijuana more than any other illicit drug. They also have among the highest rates of marijuana use compared to other developed countries. We believe that governments have an important role to play in helping to reduce the impact and harm of drug use on people and communities. That is why, in Canada, we are taking a public health approach to marijuana. C'est pourquoi, au Canada, notre approche pour la marijuana est axée sur la santé publique. Nous demandons au groupe de travail d'examiner les approches et les outils possibles qui permettraient de limiter effectivement la vente et la distribution de la marijuana aux mineurs, tout en permettant de réduire les profits qui tombent entre les mains du crime organisé. We also look forward to feedback from Canadians, and Canadians will have the opportunity to comment on a discussion paper which is going to be posted online today. It's a comprehensive discussion paper that addresses all of the issues for which we are seeking advice. And we will hear from these consultations over the coming months. They will support the drafting of new legislation that will be both comprehensive and evidence-based. Nous appuierons des politiques sur les drogues qui sont étayées par des preuves scientifiques solides et qui tiennent compte de la santé publique afin d'informer, de sensibiliser et de protéger les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Thank you, and I'm now going to pass to Michel Picard, who is the Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Madam Minister. Bonjour, bienvenue. Aujourd'hui, notre gouvernement lance les consultations visant à faire progresser la légalisation et la réglementation de la marijuana. Nous devons nous pencher sur un certain nombre de préoccupations clés, incluant les préoccupations pour la santé que pose la consommation de marijuana chez nos jeunes. De plus, il est inquiétant de savoir que les jeunes Canadiens sont 2 fois plus enclins à conduire après avoir consommé de la marijuana que de le faire après avoir consommé de l'alcool. Nous nous engageons à nous assurer que les personnes qui conduisent sous l'effet de drogue, y compris la marijuana, seront soumises à des lois plus rigoureuses. Nous nous intéressons aussi au marché illicite de la marijuana au Canada, dont la valeur est estimée à des milliards de dollars. Le crime organisé joue un rôle considérable dans ce marché illicite. Nous devons prendre des mesures afin qu'il soit moins profitable pour les trafiquants et les producteurs de drogue illicite de rester dans le commerce de la marijuana. Le groupe de travail apportera la meilleure expertise qui soit pour examiner la façon dont le processus devrait se dérouler. Évidemment, il faudra du temps pour examiner ces questions en profondeur et déterminer la meilleure façon de progresser. Entre-temps, notre message est clair. La loi, c'est la loi. Il est important de comprendre que la décriminalisation ne rejoint aucun de nos objectifs, qui sont, 1, de garder la marijuana hors de la portée des jeunes, et 2, de retirer le profit des mains du crime organisé. Les lois demeureront en vigueur jusqu'à ce que nous mettions une loi en œuvre ou modifions les règlements actuels, et elles devraient être observées. Canadians should expect that local law enforcement authorities will continue to deal with illegal marijuana sales and uphold the law. It also means that for those Canadians who need marijuana for medical reasons, they will continue to access it through the legal system that all Canada has in place. It means also that commercial sellers of marijuana who are not licensed under the current law are illegal. These storefronts sell untested products that may be unsafe and of particular risk to kids, and they are supplied by illegal growers. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, keep in mind that the law is the law until a new regulation system is in place. Our government's effort to legalize and regulate marijuana will help keep it out of the hands of children, prevent drug-impaired driving, and stop criminals from profiting from it. Public safety will always be a top priority. Thank you. Maintenant, j'invite le secrétaire parlementaire à la justice, M. Blair.
Bonjour à tous. Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here to join you today in this important announcement of a critical step in the development of a new regulatory framework for the legalization, regulation, and control of marijuana in Canada. And as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of Canada, I have been given the task of serving as liaison between the Ministers of Justice, Health, Public Safety, and our task force. This task force will be comprised of 9 members, including our chair, the Honourable Anne McCollum. Anne McCollum brings a wealth of relevant knowledge and experience to this role. At different times, she has been the Minister of Public Safety, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Justice, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. She is a member of the Order of Canada and Chancellor of the Dalhousie University. Our Vice Chair, Dr. Mark Blair, brings another extraordinary set of skills and a lens to the work of the task force. He is the Executive Director, Scientific Director of the Canadian Consortium for the Investigation of Cannabinoids, and he has chaired the International Association for Cannabinoid Medicines. He is an Associate Professor at McGill University. All of our task force members have been selected in consultation with the provinces and territories, and they are recognized for their experience and their skill in the fields of public health, problematic substance use, justice, and public safety. We have asked the task force to consult with stakeholders, as well as individual Canadians, through online consultations in a wide variety of areas, including minimizing the harms of using marijuana, ensuring safe and responsible production and packaging, maintaining strict control of access and distribution, maintaining public safety and protection, and providing continued access to medical marijuana. We've asked the task force to do this work and to present a final report to the ministers in November of 2016. This final report will be made public. I am very proud to be part of this historic, open, and transparent engagement process, and I am confident the resulting legislation will be robust and well informed by the input of experts in many fields, as well as individual Canadians. Thank you, and it's now my privilege to ask Ms. McCollum to say a few words.
Good morning, bonjour à tous. Thank you for that kind introduction, Bill. I am pleased to have been offered the opportunity to chair the task force on marijuana legalization and regulation. Given my past experience, I do have an appreciation for the complexity of the task before me and my fellow task force members. La légalisation, la réglementation stricte, et la restriction de l'accès à la marijuana constitue un engagement important. Elle concerne des questions touchant la sécurité publique, le droit, la justice, et la santé publique. I know that this is a topic that is of interest to many Canadians for different reasons. This is why I am looking forward to hearing what Canadians have to say. Over the coming months, the task force members and I will be speaking to provincial, territorial, and municipal governments. We will also consult with Indigenous governments and representative organizations. Equally important will be our engagement with youth and with experts in relevant fields, such as healthcare, substance abuse, criminal justice, law enforcement, economics, industry, and those groups with expertise in sales, production, and distribution. Not only will it be important for the task force to engage directly with experts and others, it will also be important to hear from Canadians via our online consultations, which launch today. I strongly encourage all interested Canadians to participate in this online process. The task force members and I look forward to the challenge ahead of us, and we look forward to working together to provide thoughtful and well-informed advice for the design of a new legislative and regulatory framework. Je vous remercie.
So, colleagues, we have about 20 minutes for questions. I've already got 6 people on my list, the standard 1 question, 1 follow-up. And I think we'll begin with Althea Raj in the Huffington Post.
Hi. 2 questions on 2 different topics. But on this topic, could you kindly tell me what you guys have been doing up to this point? Because as you will recall during the election campaign, the Liberal leader at the time, the Prime Minister, said he was going to get down to this really quickly. And so it seems like it's taken you a long time to come up with this task force document. I'd like to know what you've been doing up until this point.
Well, maybe I could start off to address that question. We have been working very diligently within our three ministries to one, to develop a comprehensive discussion paper, which we are putting online today, which looks at other regimes, looks internationally, and speaks to the considerations that this task force will be undertaking and engaging with Canadians. We have set up a secretariat that has been working to develop the consultation paper and working between and among our various departments on moving forward and setting up the framework that's going to be in place, or that is in place for the task force to move forward in this area.
And my second question is to Mr. Philpott. On the Canada Health Act of negotiations, can you tell us where we're at with that? I know you mentioned that you want to make that for next year as well, but we haven't heard that much about where negotiations
On
the new health report.
the health report. Okay, so it's, I won't speak too long on that right now because this is about another topic, but I'd be having a further conversation with you later on that. But I will say that we are moving forward. I had a teleconference with my colleagues the week before last, the provincial and territorial health ministers. We are very eager to move forward, and we hope to have an agreement in place by the end of the year. We have talked about what our shared priorities are. They are the same topics that we discussed when we met in person in January, and they include topics like making sure that Canadians have access to home care and investing in that area in particular, also making sure Canadians have access to mental health care, and making sure that Canadians have prescription medicines that are affordable and accessible to them. So I will be having a further conversation with you.
Prochaine question de Wigwam, Société Royale Canada.
On voit que vous allez avoir 4 à 5 mois pour faire ce travail-là. Il y a des choses très, très importantes à décider, notamment la façon de distribuer, comment contrôler l'accès aux jeunes, comment donner les outils aux policiers, décider d'un niveau d'intoxication pour le THC, pour les gens, pour l'alcool, pour le cannabis au volant. Ça fait beaucoup de choses. Je ne trouvais pas en 4 mois, je ne trouvais pas que c'était un peu ambitieux tout ça dans une période très, très courte pour un enjeu aussi important.
Nous sommes d'avis que les deux périodes de la consultation et ensuite de l'étude du rapport sont des périodes que nous avons évaluées comme étant suffisantes pour avoir une approche consultative qui soit ordonnée, structurée, qui donne amplement le temps aux gens de réagir et donc d'apporter. Et d'ailleurs, l'invitation a déjà été lancée dès aujourd'hui. Les gens sont déjà invités à soumettre leurs points par écrit, en ligne, pour justement travailler sur cette question-là. Donc, nous sommes d'avis que la période attribuée est suffisante pour permettre à tout le monde de réagir en temps comptant.
Si j'avais ajouté un petit peu, je recommande le papier, le conseil, discussion paper. I strongly recommend that people have a look at the discussion paper that is posted online. I think it sort of speaks to the balance between these questions. It's taken some time to get here, and now we have a very ambitious plan to move ahead in the next few months with this consultation. That discussion paper is what our officials have been working on. It's extremely thorough and actually addresses what we think are the most important questions that need to be answered through the consultation. So we're not starting from ground zero.
Sur un autre dossier, peut-être Mme Wilson-Raybould, sur l'aide médicale à mourir, il y a eu une première contestation judiciaire qui a été lancée par l'Association des libertés civiles de la Colombie-Britannique. Comment votre gouvernement va réagir à ce recours judiciaire? Est-ce qu'il faut s'attendre à des années devant les tribunaux, encore une fois, comme dans le cas de Mme Carter? Ou est-ce que vous allez accélérer les procédures si vous le pouvez?
Well, and I appreciate the question, and again, I'm happy to have further conversations with you on that court challenge. What we're here to talk about today is marijuana, but I'm happy to speak with you after all.
D'autres réponses? Une réponse rapide, a quick answer, maybe?
Well, we, as with every court challenge, we'll look at it and certainly respond accordingly, but I will reiterate that the legislation that we have in place with respect to medical assistance in dying is the result of substantive discussions, thorough analysis, and hearing from thousands of Canadians and organizations to put in place a regime that most appropriately balances personal autonomy and protection of the vulnerable. And again, this is as we've stated many times, this isn't the end of the conversation. That the legislation that came into force is a substantive and transformative step for our country on medical assistance in dying.
Susan Lund, CBC National Radio News.
First question is, in terms of the complexity of this issue, it seems to me that much of how this is going to roll out in terms of where it's sold, who sells it, that kind of thing, falls under the jurisdiction of the provinces. How is the task force hampered a little bit in that you're looking at sort of what seems to be almost half of the equation of what the federal government can do on this issue, when the other half is really left to the provinces to work out some of the minor pieces?
I think one of my colleagues mentioned the fact that we've been working closely with provinces and territories on this, and in fact we consulted them on the composition of the task force. We're incredibly proud of this particular group of people that we'll be working with, Ms. McClelland. They really are experts in all of these fields, and they will also be looking at the matter from the perspective of what it means is both at the provincial and territorial level as well as at the municipal level. And I think when you look at the list of people, you'll see that they have expertise that will take those matters into consideration. But it's not uncommon for other substances to have regulation from the federal government. So as you know, there's a Tobacco Control Act in place, and especially in light, I would say, in the fact that we are taking a public health approach to the matter of the legalization and regulation of marijuana, it makes sense that we have a comprehensive regime and that it is enacted and introduced at the federal level.
And just as a follow-up for Anne McCullen, welcome back. In the Kutcha government, there was some thinking towards moving towards decriminalization of marijuana, and now you're on a task force to legalize marijuana. From your perspective, what has shifted in the years in between from decriminalization now to legalization?
Well, I think a lot has changed over the past decade. I think that's pretty clear. And I think so many people have come to the conclusion, for a number of reasons, that the current situation is not working. And we need a better way forward. And I have myself concluded that legalization with a regulatory regime, such as the task force will be exploring, is the way forward. But a lot has happened. A lot of data has been collected and analyzed, and a much higher degree of understanding of the landscape over this past decade. And I think speaks clearly to where we are today, which is a commitment to legalization, task force focusing on how we bring about legalization.
Christy Kirkpatrick, Canadian Press.
My first question is more of a logistical question, just in terms of the task force, and I know that it's going to be traveling around to speak to municipal governments as well as provincial and territorial governments. So how much is this all going to cost taxpayers in order to do the work of the task force?
Well, we're extremely pleased and fortunate to have such a amazing group of experts that have come here together to work on the recommendations, and a team of experts that are going to be working on a voluntary basis. We certainly will ensure that the task force complies with all Treasury Board guidelines in terms of travel and expenses, but we're pleased that we have a very committed voluntary group of members of the task force.
And just wanted to ask Minister Philpott, it was back in March that you signaled that the federal government would not be appealing just on medicinal marijuana. You would not be appealing the Allard decision that was handed down. And in the decision, it stipulated that the government needed to look at its medicinal marijuana regime by August. So just wondering where you're at in terms of medicinal marijuana and looking at those regulations because of what the court handed down.
Thank you. So as you indicated, the Allard case is related to the regulations related to medical marijuana, and we recognize that Canadians need to have access to marijuana for medical purposes. my officials and my team are working on the response to the decision that was made. We have until the end of August to submit that response, and we look forward to presenting our response to that.
So you're still working on it?
Yes.
Daniel LeBlanc, the Globe Mail.
Hi. So a question, we'll see who wants to take it. Basically, some people feel that if marijuana is legal, it should be like tomatoes, everyone should be able to grow it. I get a sense from reading the terms of reference that the framework that the government wants to have in place will actually impose strict restrictions on who can produce marijuana. Is that kind of the message that you're giving the task force, that you want actual limits on who can produce marijuana for recreational purposes in this country?
Actually, if I may jump in, I think that the science is overwhelming and clear that marijuana is not a benign substance that presents a risk to certain sectors of our population, particularly kids, and the impact on developing adolescent brains, but it also can have an impact on people who are very frequent users, or people who are maybe suffering from other illnesses, particularly mental illness. And therefore, I think it is very much in the interest of Canadians, if we're going to achieve our public purpose aims of protecting our kids, getting organized crime out of this trade, and protecting our neighborhoods as a result by reducing the violence and victimization they're responsible for, and doing everything possible to ensure whatever is consumed by Canadians is as healthful as we can make it, then I think ensuring that an effective and comprehensive regulatory framework is put in place to control the production, distribution, and the consumption of marijuana in order to achieve those aims. And it is not as like tomatoes. It is a substance that poses certain significant both social and health harms and risks to Canadians, and we want to make sure that we mitigate those risks, take an effective harm reduction approach to protect our communities, protect our kids, and to help Canadians.
Is there an agreement in the government that the distribution, like alcohol, will be provincially regulated, and could there be, as a result of this, a bit of a patchwork system in which provinces, the distribution of marijuana, the sale of marijuana varies vastly from province to province? Or do you want the task force to come up with rules, and Canadian rules, for the distribution of marijuana?
Well, I'll just say that we certainly look forward to the task force coming back with recommendations on questions such as you've just raised, and providing those recommendations for our consideration as we move forward with the development of legislation. But this is the tremendous opportunity that we have with such a diverse group of experts that will be going across the country and substantively engaging with provinces and territories and other stakeholders that have an interest and have further expertise that they can contribute to the government's considerations.
Prochaine, c'est Lina Deeb, the press Candian.
Oui, si je peux reprendre ce dont mon collègue parle, sauf qu'il y a quelques instants, Mme Philpott, vous avez parlé d'un comprehensive system, vous avez comparé ça au tabac. Donc, est-ce qu'on ne devrait pas s'attendre justement à ce qu'il y ait un seul système dans toutes les provinces, pareil pour l'âge de consommation, pour la distribution, et non pas un peu comme l'alcool, j'ai le droit de boire à Ottawa, j'ai pas le droit de boire à Ottawa, j'ai le droit de boire
Je vais essayer de répondre en français avec ça. Et c'est exactement ce que mon collègue a déjà dit. Et qu'aujourd'hui, on commence avec un groupe de travail. C'est un groupe qui a beaucoup qui sont des experts dans les domaines de la santé publique, de la sécurité publique et de la loi et de l'enforcement de la loi. Et c'est toutes les questions que vous avez posées sont des questions exactement qu'on va demander au groupe de travail. On veut avoir une législation qui va bien marcher pour tout le pays, mais c'est des questions qu'on attend après quelques mois d'avoir des bonnes réponses.
So we shouldn't jump to conclusions when you're talking about a comprehensive plan, a national plan, and if I can, because that's my last chance to talk, and if I can ask, you're talking about the danger for the youth and teenagers. So are we thinking of going beyond 18?
So if I'll answer your first question again in English, which might be a little bit more substantial given my limited French. But when I speak about the comprehensive plan, I'm speaking about comprehensive in the sense that it needs to take all matters into consideration, not in the sense that I don't want to imply that for sure that every province will have exactly the same distribution system. For example, they may have, but these are questions that are premature for today. And in terms of things like what the age will be, these are, as you'll see when you read the discussion paper that's been posted online, these are exactly the questions. It will speak to the data that we have available, the scientific evidence is available from other jurisdictions, and those are exactly the questions for which we'll anticipate good answers.
Next question is from my colleague with the blue check shirt. Remind me of your name and outlet, I'm sorry. Nigel, yes, I'm sorry, Nigel Nilo.
For the national inquiry into missing murdered Indigenous women, it seems like you're having some trouble getting Manitoba to sign on, and it sounds like it's the terms of reference. If you just tell us where that stands right now and what their issue is with the terms of reference.
Well, we're working with my colleagues, Ministers Bennett and Heidi. We are continuing to work on, and will very shortly be announcing, making announcements on moving forward with the inquiry. We have always stated that we want this inquiry to be a national inquiry. And not only with the province of Manitoba, but all provinces and territories, we've been working incredibly collaboratively. We've had face-to-face meetings, and we want to ensure that as much as possible that we have a national inquiry, that provinces and territories are supportive of the terms of reference as we move forward. And those are ongoing discussions, and look forward to talking about those discussions in more detail at a date that is soon to come. So thanks for the question.
Can you share that date? We've heard July 6th. That's Wednesday. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, we're gonna come back very shortly to provide more information on the inquiry. And this is a huge priority for our government, and certainly for Canadians and families of the murdered, missing, and survivors. And this is work that we will continue to do in a concerted and a collaborative way with Indigenous peoples in this country.
My colleague in the white shirt, Ruby Hill Times.
Kyle Duggan from iPolitics. I just have a question for the Justice Minister. Canada's party to 3 international treaties that would prevent us from actually legalizing marijuana. I'd like to know, what advice have you received from the Justice Department lawyers on what Canada should do about those 3 UN conventions on drugs?
Well, I, of course, am aware of those conventions, and we very much respect our international obligations. We've been very open. Our commitment as a government is to ensure that we do move forward, and we are, with the legalization of marijuana, strict regulation and restricting access. We're going to move forward in a very open and transparent way, and certainly will continue to work with my colleagues, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, on international discussions, but ensuring that we move forward in a very thoughtful way, respecting all of the obligations that we have.
And have you considered withdrawing? Is that an option that you're looking at?
We've been open, and my colleague Minister Philpott has spoke to our intentions as a country to move forward with legalization when she was at the United Nations a number of months ago. We're going to continue to work not only within our country, but with our international partners as well, as we move forward with what we believe is the best approach to ensure that we achieve our objectives. That being keeping marijuana out of the hands of children and profits out of the hands of criminals by moving forward with the legalization and strict regulation.
So our last question in the room is Omar Kashfi of CTV, and I think we'll try to squeeze one in from the phones before we hit our deadline. So, Omar.
I'm just curious, Ministers, if you think that there's anything about the Colorado example that has worked and that would be beneficial in the Canadian context, and have you been in touch with officials in Colorado?
So thank you for the question. We have actually, our officials have been working with a number of jurisdictions, including Colorado, have actually visited Colorado and looked at what the regime looks like, and the task force will do further work on this. It speaks to, I would say, from a public health perspective, there are lessons to be learned as to what has worked well and what hasn't worked well in other places. So we have those lessons to draw upon. We will certainly be asking the task force to consider matters like advertising, marketing, packaging, etc., what products are available, and they will look to the experiences of other places to make sure that we make the best decisions.
So, Ms. McClellan, will you also be going to Colorado, or this is just a domestic?
We haven't made final decisions as a task force, but I can tell you that I have been in discussions with the Secretariat as to whether some members of the task force would gain from visiting not only Colorado, but potentially, for example, the state of Washington. So that's very much a discussion that we are undertaking right now with officials.
So, operator, I think we have time for one from the phones, if there's a question.
Thank you. We have a question from Stephen Stairs from Winnipeg 420 Organizing Committee. Please go ahead. Mr. Stairs, your line is now open. You may proceed with your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. This is just for a broad answered question. I'm really just looking for an answer. Is it not somewhat hypocritical for the government to allow medical marijuana to be grown at home for the medical benefits, but yet somehow try to push the idea that marijuana is illegal and a bad substance for the rest of the recreational users? I'm just trying to figure out where there's a definition on how you can determine who's using marijuana for a medical purpose without a medical license. I mean, if everybody's using it, technically it has medical benefit, doesn't it?
So, first of all, I'll say that we are moving forward with the task force. That is the important message of today. And that task force will be given a number of questions that will include the production and distribution of marijuana. You're absolutely right that we have learned a great deal from the methods that have been used around the production and distribution of medical marijuana. That will inform the work of the task force to make sure that an appropriate system is available so that people will continue to be able to access medical marijuana, and we will also put a regime in place and introduce legislation next spring that will allow the legalization and regulation of recreational marijuana.
I appreciate that. I find it a little hypocritical again that alcohol is allowed to be brewed at home, but yet the idea of someone growing marijuana, like such as tomatoes was referenced, would be somehow persecuted.
If I can just follow up on that then, and what I wanted you to take away from that response was that no decisions have been made about what this legislation will look like. I put those questions to the task force, and we look forward to their recommendations. We will take those recommendations into consideration. They will consult with experts across the country, with all appropriate interest groups and stakeholders to get the best advice. And it would be premature at this time to weigh in on what that legislation will look like.
I definitely agree.
I would remind you, sir, that it's one question, one follow-up, and we agreed to 20 minutes of questions. We are now at 23 minutes. So with that, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.